Our last week of Advent focuses on love. Our journey is sustained through loving expectation. There is no greater love than that of a parent for a child. Maybe you have experienced this love as a parent or been on the receiving end as a child. Although this love is not comparable to God's unconditional love, it's probably the closest thing we have this side of heaven. And this love was exemplified in Mary and Joseph's love for their son, Jesus. And this Advent, we step into the love that they had in order to get a taste of God's love for us. For we are God's children, co-heirs with Christ. God calls each and every one of us daughter and son, and even more so calls us beloved. But we only know love because God first loved us. The scriptures are full of words on love, and I want to share just a few of them with you. First, we'll read from 1 John. This is chapter 4, verses 7 and 8. Which says, "Beloved, let us love one another, because love is from God. Everyone who loves is born of God and knows God." So as we think about love this Advent season, it's important to remember that we know love, again, because God first loves us, but even more than that, in our relationship with God, as we are transformed more and more into Christ's likeness, we take on love in new and bigger and holier ways. The scriptures also tell us that faith and hope and love, these three abide, but the greatest of these is love. And that is because it is purely something that we gain from God's fathership to us. And we are commanded to pour that love out. This is from the Gospel of John, chapter 13, which says, "I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." This is the commandment that Jesus gives us, and it harkens us back to the greatest commandment, to love God and to love people. And we see that beautiful vertical and horizontal meeting once again, that as we love God and seek relationship with Him, then we are able to love one another and to even perhaps see the face of God in the other, in the person who stands or sits across from us. Loving God and loving one another, our greatest commandment, is not easy, but we have the great example of Christ who laid down His life for His beloved. And we have the example of Mary and Joseph who loved their baby boy. Listen in to our last text for this Advent season. "So the shepherds went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the child lying in the manger. When they saw this, they made known what had been told them about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen as it had been told them." But Mary treasured all these words and held them in her heart. This brings us to the very heart of the gospel, that God, who is a big God, a sovereign God, mighty and powerful, is also the God who meets us in the right here and right now, who speaks to our hearts, who, as Zephaniah tells us, sings over us, delights in us. Human love by nature is selfish and conditional, but agape love is all-consuming and self-sacrificing, unconditional and lavish. This is the love that God gives to us. And the word says that a child of God knows God's love. So I invite you to reflect upon the ways in which you have experienced God's love throughout your faith journey. How particularly has God's love shown up for you? Has it been in the kindness of a stranger, or in the quiet moments in the secret place? Has it been through a parent or a child, or simply the Word of God speaking to you? However God's love has shown up for you, I encourage you to seek those places and things and ways out. So this last week of Advent, and as we make our way to the manger, we are invited to rest in this love, to allow ourselves to be reminded that God calls us by name. God sees all of us and knows us fully and loves us completely. With that truth, we are encouraged and motivated to not only experience that love and treasure it in our hearts, but to take it out to all of the world, to your children, to your families, to your co-workers and the strangers you meet. Let your love live this Advent season.